Hello, friends, and welcome to Belly Talk, a podcast made for bears by bears. This is a space to have deeper conversations about the bear experience and to help us all open up and be vulnerable and grow together. My name is John Fisher. I also go by Coach Cub. I am a certified health and wellness coach who's been working with bears for over a decade, facilitating classes and workshops and retreats. I'm very passionate about helping people find self-love and acceptance of their bodies. I'm also passionate about connection and community and overall joy. I'm excited to be here with my co-host, Johnny Bear.
Thanks, Coach Cub. That's right, I'm Johnny Bear. I am a licensed clinical social worker, a personal chef, a writer, an artist, and a multi-trauma survivor. I am here to help facilitate or co-facilitate discussions regarding everything within the bear community, particularly wellness and body positivity. I'm looking forward to getting to know the guests that we will be having on, and also you, the audience. I can't wait to explore and take on this adventure one conversation at a time.
And we hope you enjoy this upcoming episode. You can learn more about the classes that we run in New York City and beyond, the retreats in Portugal and all over the US, and even find some fun merch all at coachcub.com. So I hope you unbuckle your belt, let that belly out, take a deep breath, and enjoy the show.
Right on.
So, welcome to Belly Talk. We have Erik Cavanaugh with us today, who I'm really excited to talk to. I've been following you, Erik, on Instagram. I think I had maybe like 10 people send me your videos over the last few years. And I've always been in awe watching you move. So you are a dancer. I know that you have a mission of kind of changing the dancer's body, which is part of why we're here to talk to you. But first of all, how are you doing, and welcome?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And then we have Johnny Bear here, who I think between the two of us, we're like, we don't know much about dancing, but we'll ask some good questions around body stuff. But Johnny Bear, how are you?
I'm great today, and it is such a pleasure to have you here, Eric. And it's funny, my mother originally sent me some of your content, back, I guess it was probably 4 years ago now. She was like, look at this fabulous guy. And I saw it and I was like, wow. And I love dance. I love to watch dance. I don't do much more than maybe do the hustle sometimes. But having you on today is a real pleasure and a real gift to my mom. So welcome.
So much. I love that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'd love to just maybe hear a little bit more from you. I mean, we both read some articles and watched your videos, but yeah, who are you, Erik? And, what is your background? Like, how did you start to get into dance? I know it's been a bit of a journey since you were a child, but what were like those early years like for you as you started getting into it?
So I started dance. I had two different like waves with it, I guess. Because I did start a little bit younger. My older brother was also in it. We were going to like a musical theater academy. Um, he was a favorite. I was not. I was a plump little kid. And the instructor told my parents, I was under the age of 10, that's probably not worth it to pay for me to still be doing this. So they just told my parents, like, give up, why, like, we don't know what to do with him. He's fat, he won't make it, he can't do it. So I stopped for a while dancing. I found a middle school that was a performing arts middle school, and then I went to performing arts high school. by my sophomore year of high school, I was like, I don't want to do musical theater. Like, I want to dance. And I never understood why dance was taken away from me because my parents aren't going to tell me, like, oh, by the way, this, your ballet teacher said you're too fat and you'll never make it anywhere because I was a child. So I got to my sophomore year and I was like, I need to do something else. Like, I can't do this anymore. And yeah, so I switched to the dance department my junior year. I found a dance studio that did welcome me in, and I've been dancing ever since.
That's just it's wonderful how you followed your passion and found your path, even though some of the outside obstacles were a challenge. I don't have many regrets in my life, but I do look back on my life at times and see some choices that I made. And I remember my mother enrolled me in ballet in kindergarten. And I remember standing there with all these girls. And even at that young age, it was embedded in my head that I shouldn't be here. I'm a boy, and I don't want to be here. So I got myself out of there as soon as I could. But as I've grown up and learned to love the art of dance and appreciate it, I wish I could have had that more in my life. And what is there anything any message you would want to put out there to young men, but also to anybody who's wanting to dance but feels the challenge of either outside or inside critics?
Yeah, I mean, a couple years ago, there was, I think, a Good Morning America that made fun of boys dancing. And so this kind of movement of boys dance too started. So there is, I think, I don't know if it's as pronounced or used as much anymore, but if you look up boys dance too, like as a hashtag, you would see all of these men that are talking about how important dance is for them. Straight men, gay men, bisexual men, asexual, like all different types of men that are talking about the importance and the beauty of dance and how some of them have found their wives through it, some have found their partner through it, and just the experience it gives them and the opportunity to just like love an art form without putting on the expectation of like male or female or like masculine, feminine, and just giving yourself the chance to enjoy something that is so beautiful. If that made
What
sense.
it
Yeah, absolutely.
completely, and that's exactly what I was saying. Where Johnny Bear, and I would sit there for a second after you talk. But yeah, it's like dance is such a human experience. Like throughout
We all
history,
do
I
it.
think we've always. What was that?
I was saying we all do it naturally. You're gonna sway, you're gonna bounce your leg, you're gonna snap, you're gonna head nod. It comes natural. And like some people don't think, just moving your head like this to a song is dancing, but it is. Dance is the one thing that everyone in the world can do that no one, it's not bound by language, it's not bound by limitations. Dance is just the soul moving and just grooving and speaking. So it's something even animals and plants all do it. You watch a sunflower just dancing in the wind.
I love that.
So
Yeah,
beautiful. My God.
and it's so cathartic. I think that might be part of it too for humans, at least. It's like when we're dancing, we're getting in touch with something beyond ourselves, and we naturally have to get out of your head and into like a flow state. So, is that what you were drawn to when you were younger, and when you went back to it in school, or what was it about dance particularly that spoke to you?
It just was so mesmerizing to watch. I remember watching So You Think You Can Dance when I was in like middle school and high school and thinking just how incredible and like how they didn't say anything. They weren't telling me how they were feeling, but I was so enamored at the very idea of just even just reaching can say so much because you can reach with a smile, you can reach with like despair, and like dance allows you to say anything you need to without saying anything, and it's just such a human experience. And like, yeah, when you become a dancer, you're putting on this like training and the technique and the layers and da da da. But at the very base, it's a human experience and it's a release. It's working out, it's releasing those endorphins, it's releasing the stress, it's releasing the trauma. You know, even if you look at a heavy metal concert and there's a mosh pit, like they are just jumping around, releasing the stress from the day. They might not think they're dancing, it might be like jumping around or a mosh pit, but like that is dance. They are releasing so much energy and reacting to the music and letting their inside just take over and not worry about like, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do this or how do I look? It's just, it's that release.
Wow. It's amazing, you know, the way you describe dance, it's almost like a part, it is a part of you, I'm assuming. And you I as I was reading throughout some of your history here, you had some pretty profound instructors like Ursula Payne or Mia Michaels, and you once said Mia Michaels dances from the inside out. And I was wondering if that is something that is that what you're talking about? You know, reaching in.
Yeah, I will say, Mia was never an instructor, but she was an inspiration for me. She was one of the ones that I looked on So You Think You Dance. She was such a big choreographer on So You Think You Dance, and she would choreograph. Like I remember, and it's still such a timeless piece of Final Dance between her and her father who passed away. She used two dancers to create this moment, this dream, this ethereal realm that felt of she getting a final dance with her father who passed away. And that was her speaking, that was her heart, that was her insides, and we got to hear the story, we got to see the story, and she got to also feel it. You know, maybe she doesn't have that actual final dance moment, but she was able to create it, and now it exists forever as her and him dancing and sharing that space, because it wasn't her dancing, it wasn't the father dancing, it was two separate dancers, but on that stage it was, you know.
Yeah, it's, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's artistry, and I love the fact that you know. So you think you could dance or Dancing with the Stars has created this awareness for this genre, that it's not just you don't have to go to Carnegie Hall or Radio City Music Hall to look at dancers. You could actually, people are so into it even in the middle of the country. They are so interested in dance now. And what is your role now? What are you up to now? And what do you do for dance?
Right now, I'm the industry, the film and TV industry for the most part is at a very strong standstill. There's not a lot happening. Um, so I'm using this time to focus more on my teaching and being able to reach out to students and young people and adults and teach them and be a direct one-on-one connection with people. Because for a while I was very focused on like doing the jobs, getting on film, getting on television, building the resume, doing all of that. And it's not that I'm like done with it, but it's also like, okay, I've done a lot. I've accomplished a lot that I wanted to do. Let me take this time to like reach on a human level to people, because I wanted to be a person to look towards that I didn't have, a reference point for the young dancers, because when growing up, there wasn't a reference point for my parents to say, well, no, it is possible because look at blah. I wanted to be that reference point for whenever a dance teacher says, oh, your little child will never make it because they're too fat. They can go, well, hold on now. What about Erik Cavanaugh? I
Right.
see him doing this all the time. So that was kind of my idea, like helping rewrite the narrative. And now I want to be able to, so people see it. People can see me in the professional world. Now I want them to be able to see me on a personal level and be able to know how real it is, because it's one thing to see a film and it's another thing for a human reaction. or interaction, I should say.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of that kind of mission you were on started around America's Got Talent. Is that right? Is that like kind of put you on the map, so to speak?
Yes and no. So AGT, um, I was not intending to do. They reached out to me. Um, the one thing it did bring me was to social media because I wasn't really like posting on social media. I was late to the Instagram game. I didn't make it until like 2015. I was using it for, the stupid like look at my dinner for tonight or this is a sunflower I saw. So I didn't
With
really
the old filters.
yeah, 7 filters on top of it. It looks yellow, it's grainy. But um but I was posting to YouTube a little bit like just improv. So that's how AGT found me. And when they were with me, they asked me to do like, hey, can you do a little bit more commercialized dancing? Because what I was doing at the time was very concert and modern and very just like for me and not for consumption. Um, so they shifted me a little bit into that world. And so then I posted that to Instagram, my like audition rehearsal, and that took me to going viral, which helped me build a platform, which made me then go, okay, let me actually have a platform. Let me actually do something with this. So then I put the focus in on building a platform because the first time I went viral, it maybe got me to like 9,000 followers. And I was like, okay. And then this is cool, but whatever. But then I was getting DMs and messages from people as being like, I just signed up a dance class because I love your videos, or I'm doing this because whatever. So I was like, okay, let's make this a thing. And so then I research and figure out how to make social media work for me. So then I built my social media platform. Um, and then because like I'm from Pittsburgh and I didn't have the most money in the world with my family. Like we're not dance is a very expensive sport and it's a rich person's game to win. And I didn't have access to that. I didn't go to a competition studio. I didn't compete. I didn't know the big name choreographers. I wasn't doing all of that. I was late to the game. I started re-dancing at 16 years old. I was not competing. I was in Pittsburgh, which is not a big dance hub. There's dance here, but it's not, New York or LA. So I was like, how do I get myself into the spaces without being there? And that's also where social media came in. So then I used social media to get my name and faces in front of the choreographers so then I could then enter the space that way.
Hmm. You have guys like Derek Huff or Travis Wall, or those are the guys that I've watched and followed. Are there any inspirations for you in that you would consider role models or inspirations?
Um, Misty Copeland's one of them that I think so many people look to because she broke down the barrier for what it meant to be a professional principal ballerina. Um, but it's still sad when you think about it because if you ever see Misty, she is still extremely slender, very muscular, but like she's still a very slender person. But she was, so profound because she has a little bit of hips that they were like, oh my God, look at the dance road getting so amazing. Um, then there's her name on Instagram is Amari Monster or Amari Marshall. She's someone that I looked up to and I actually got to work with because she recently toured with Beyonce, but she's also a bigger woman and she's all about her curves and everything. And she just did the damn thing. And she was one of like Beyonce's like core dancers. She helped teach Blue a lot. Uh, Dexter Mayfield is one. Amanda LeCount. There's quite a few like plus size dancers out there that I really look to because we're just trying to survive in this industry that told us we never would.
How does it feel for your name to be like on that list of all these role models? Like you are obviously a role model to so many people who've seen you on TV, and I was looking on your Instagram, you're on, Apple, iPhone, billboards, and it's like how do you grapple with just the fact that like, you went from not really having an Instagram to having this huge following and now getting work and being on your mission?
I mean, it's a wild reality to accept, and I don't always do that. Um, I mean, it's a battle with like imposter syndrome, where I'm constantly doubting my validity in the jobs that I do or the offers that I get, especially if I'm working like in an ensemble piece. If there's dancers that I look up to or I've known of or are famous dancers, and I'm also casted alongside them, I'm like, I don't belong here because how can I sit next to this person? And so it's a hard thing for me to accept, and I am working on accepting it and owning it and believing in myself and like what I've done. But it's I wish I could say it feels great, because sometimes it doesn't, because then I put my own expectations on myself to present a certain way in hopes of like portraying who Erik Cavanaugh is rather than just living in the truth of who I am.
Yeah, it's such an amazing truth, and most of our audience, is in the bear community or bigger body people, and it's part of why John and I started this discussion. It's this podcast because we want to give voice for those folks, and a lot of what feedback we get is people deal with body shame every day. People deal with feeling as if they're comparing themselves to a larger gay community that's much more different than they are. And they walk with such internal dialogues that prevent them from doing so many things that they wish they could do. And I'm wondering if you have a message to them, or just your own personal ways that you confront that internal negative dialogue.
I Someone told me to just combat it with the positive dialogue. So if your natural head voice is saying, I don't belong here, I don't, shouldn't be here, you then have to create that other voice that says, no, you belong here. No, this is the space you belong in. No, you own the ground that you're standing on. So you have to argue with yourself in a way. I mean, I don't know if that sounds crazy to think like having an internal argument, but we all do it. But you have to be able to push back against that and create your voice in your head that's telling you you belong here, you should be here, because the voice that's telling you not to be here, not to belong here, that's not your own voice. That's not who you are.
Mm.
That's who society has created. This is the idea of past trauma and past triggers that is reeling its ugly head and creating that voice. That's not your own voice. That's not your human spirit. Your human spirit is you saying, no, I belong here. No, I should be here. No, I am great. So it's trusting your voice and using it to push out what society has made you believe.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've been, dealing with that since you were 10 and you had an instructor saying you're not right for this, this activity or this art form. So, it is society as a whole tells us we're not worthy, but like you're in a very specific field where like the examples we see, and I'm sure like the feedback you've gotten throughout your career is like, this is not for bigger bodies. So it's like you're having to like in real time combat all of that. So like definitely be gentle on yourself, because and self, rely on self-preservation, because what you're going through is it's real. It's like you're in a really difficult industry to be in.
Hmm.
What have well, I was gonna ask like a negative question, but let's not even do that. Like, what is some of the good positive feedback you've gotten? Like, what are those, this argument on this side saying that you belong here? Like, what are some of those good stories from like people you've influenced or people you've inspired or people whose minds you've blown with like your moves?
When the billboard was up, um, people that didn't know me, but I maybe had mutual friends with them, I saw and got sent to me a couple times. They were walking through New York. They saw my billboard and they cried
Mm.
because they saw a representation of themselves in Times Square dancing. And this was just one story that I know of that someone told me where they made a post and said, like, this was such an emotional moment for me because this was never a possibility growing up. It was taught to you it would never happen. You know, growing up, if you do pursue the arts as a fat kid, you're going to be the funny one, you're going to be the goofy one, you're going to be the quiet one, you're going to be the villain, you're going to be the henchman, you're going to be the bodyguard. You're not the star, you're not the front page, you're the support. And that billboard is just me. It's me. I'm the only star on it. And so having someone literally made like a paragraph long post and they're friends with my older brother and was like, this is like magnificent, this is beautiful, I cannot believe this, like that was huge for me. And like that is a positive like outcome from it. Or um I've had so many things where people say like they watched a movie I did or like a TV show and saw me and was just like, it made them smile and made them so happy because it's representation that is normally missing.
Hey there, this is John. I just wanted to interrupt briefly to remind you that if you like this conversation and the vibe of what we're doing, that I personally do a lot of work beyond the podcast. So I'm a board certified health and wellness coach. I do classes in New York City, but what I really love is the retreats that we offer called Camp Bear Hug. We've done a variety of them in Portugal, including a wine retreat in northern Portugal, a few summer camps. We did a food tour in New Orleans, an upstate New York wellness retreat. And in 2025, we're going to be offering a variety of experiences. I think it's hard for me to explain what guests get out of this. I know it's magical and it's beautiful to watch and be a part of. So I wanted to continue sharing stories straight from our guests' mouths. So here is Dakota, who came to our August 2023 retreat in Portugal. And here's what he had to say about the experience.
My name is Dakota, and I'm here to tell you more about Camp Bear Hug and why it would be an amazing opportunity for you. I'm a former Camp Bear Hug alumni during its second year, and during that time, not only did I learn more about the culture and the arts, I learned more about me and how to unlock a more confident part of myself. So to start, I knew I wanted to do something for my 30th birthday. I knew I wanted to travel out of the country, but I was worried I wasn't, that I wouldn't fit in, that my parents wouldn't let me fit in with other travel groups, especially gay travel groups. And we all know that, as united as we are, our appearances sometimes kind of separate us, which is an unfortunate reality. But, as I was looking for more and more gay-themed travel groups, I came across this article, if you will, and it kind of resonated with me. And I learned more about Camp Bear Hug and how it was a success in its first year. And so I reached out to John, and, it was just such a delight to talk to him. I knew at ease. I just felt at ease when I was talking with him. And then, after a while, I was like, this is what I want to do, and with Camp Bear Hug, it is open to, all backgrounds and all experiences. And, there's something to do with, everyone, from different interests. There's beach days, there's food and culture days, there's walking around towns, especially ancient history. The town of Obidos was one such opportunity where I learned more about the town of Obidos and how it was actually a dowry gift presented to Queen Isabel of Portugal. And, I was just, in awe of the experience, and I would not trade it for the world.
That's it delights my spirit to hear you speak so eloquently. You speak as eloquently as you dance, and it's such a joy to have you here because it inspires my own inner artists or quells my own inner critics, and I'm grateful for that and thankful for you for standing in your truth and continuing to battle on and pursue this dream and be a role model and stand strong in that. Are there any challenges to being a role model? I know social media is one of your major platforms to be out there, and I know social media isn't always the happiest place to be when it comes to fame or anything really. Are there challenges, and how do you get over them or deal with them?
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a few challenges. I mean, social media, the comment section can suck. For the most part, I've been able to just kind of push it aside, and it just becomes an echo chamber of the same things, just said in different ways. How many different ways can you call me fat? How many different ways can you call me gay? There's a few sometimes that will get to me that I'm like, that's hitting really below the belt. But those have also started to just become echo chambers of the same demographic of people that will never affect me. Like there was one that did shock me maybe like a week or so ago that said like, I hope to see this person on the street so I can whatever, like I'm willing to go to jail. Like they were just basically saying they wanted to attack and fight me and hurt me because of my social media post of me dancing. They wanted to, I don't know, potentially kill me or whatever. That to me was one of those ones that did make me pause and go like, that's an actual insane take. And it's funny because I reported that comment to Instagram, and Instagram didn't think it was hate speech. Literally said they were willing to go to jail.
And we just had Roy Belzer on recently. He's like a bigger bodied fitness guy who's like nearing probably like the levels that you're at. And I feel like he just posted it and it was the same exact comment. So I feel like that whoever wrote that is just like a hateful bored person, commenting on like all the body positive hashtags or something. It's like what a waste of time. I'm sorry that you have to go through that.
It's okay. I've been doing it for quite a while, so I'm not. Unfortunately, I've come numb to it. I feel like I shouldn't be because I feel like that shouldn't be something to be numb to, or it shouldn't be normal. But gotta get numb to it. But the other side of being a role model that isn't always great is that people have an expectation of how you should always be, how you should always allow others to perceive you, or how you're going to interact or react in public towards things. And it's hard because like, yes, I'm taking on this role, but also I'm still human. So I want to be able to make dumb mistakes. I want to be able to not be perfection. I want to make sure that I'm not speaking out of turn and that be turning into something that's going to be used against me. Sometimes I want to be, I want to go to a bar or a club and I want to, look like wear a little risque clothes or, feel whatever and not be scrutinized because like I'm representing something. Because people do put their parenting guidance on role models they find on the internet a little too fiercely. Like, yes, we are choosing this public persona and yes, we are choosing to pursue this in a very public way, but I'm also not raising your child. So
Yeah.
like that also understanding like if I want to go to the club and I want to have my legs out or my ass out a little bit when I'm at a 21 plus club, I'm allowed to. I'm not parenting your child. Also, you're allowed to if you are a parent. It's your prerogative. but people kind of put that because it's like, oh, they're looking to you. Oh, you're a role model. You're an educator. You have to be a certain whatever. So that's sometimes where like I battle a lot, where I'm like, oh, like dance. Like there was a period where I stopped dancing, making so many heels videos, for just this year. Like I've recently started redoing them because I missed it. But it was like people kind of looked down on that, and it was like, oh, I don't know if we could bring you to the studio because like the heel stuff. Now I'm learning they're just not going to bring me to the studio because I'm fat. It's not so much the heels. This was just an easy excuse. um but like, so I sectioned off a part of myself that made me happy to be a role model, and like I find that that's an unfair trade-off.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's mainly people like projecting what they think a role model should be. Like, because in my mind, it's like you wearing heels or wearing scantily clothed outfits, like that is a role model for little queer kids of like what if their future can be. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just maybe not like the mainstream idea of what certain parents want.
Yeah, it's,
I also, yeah,
I
go
was just
ahead.
gonna have to give to pander to like the Midwest, they say, because a lot of them are very conservative um, viewpoints on some things, and you want to make sure that Middle America stays happy. And it's like, why do I have to? You know,
Yeah, no, you got to be up in the club in your heels.
no.
Speaking of which, you're based in Nashville now, and it's like Music City, and a place where people go to be garner fame or get their art out there. Is that part of why you're there in
Yeah, so
Nashville?
I moved here because I tried New York for a little bit, but it wasn't for me at the time. I was like 23, 24, and I just was like, eh. Now that I'm a little bit older, I feel like New York could be a little bit of an interest. But I also had dreams of LA, but I wanted to get away from family, but so close enough so that it's like I'm on my own and I'm standing on my own 2 feet, how I feel. And I also didn't want to jump straight to LA without having like a base underneath of me. I didn't want to go out there with like a nothing resume and just like opens nothing but hopes and dreams. So I landed in Nashville because some directors were also like, this is the city that's on the come up. Everyone is looking at Nashville right now. Um, I lived there for a couple years. Then I lived in LA for a year. I just recently moved back to Nashville last year because the strike was happening, and then everything is just so expensive out there and nothing was happening. So I was like, well, I don't want to pay thousands and thousands of dollars almost daily, it felt like, just to exist out here for there not to be work. And I was working in LA, I was doing work, but I was like losing more money than I was making because the city's cost of living is so high. So then I was like, okay, let me go back to Nashville. And now I'm seeing like Nashville is really pushing its way up more and more for a lot of things. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is a good city to stay based in because it's easy to get everywhere else. Atlanta's a 4-hour drive. There's a direct flight from LA to Nashville through Delta because Delta's hub is Atlanta. Atlanta's so close to us, so we get all the direct Delta flights. Chicago's a direct flight. New York's a direct flight. Like I'm have access to everywhere easily. That is like if I needed to get somewhere, I can get there within a day.
That's great. We asked our belly club, which a lot of the guys and folks are in the New York area, if they had a question for you. And one guy, Michael Q, who's a massage therapist and actor, was like, "Is Eric going to come out to New York at all and do something here?" So you do have people asking, and it'd be great for you to come out here sometime. We could even do a class with the group if you were up for
I
that.
do. I actually was just talking with a friend. I'm trying to figure out how to navigate into the club scene a little bit more because I never did. It was never quite my like, I don't know, I never had the eyes on it. And then I went to like a couple different performances and I was like, I should be on that stage and I should be doing it. So I want to start figuring out how to like get to New York and LA and all the other places for different parties or club events. And I was actually just talking with another plus size guy. I was like, how do I get involved in gay events? Because I exist in the gay world, but I don't. Like I get invited to some things, but I'm not necessarily like a staple as much as I would like to be. So I'm now trying to figure out like how do I set myself up for success in the gay world? And I think part of it is the club scene. And that's mostly because like going back to the role model, it was like I must be, the most perfect dance teacher, dancer in the world. So I was like hyper vigilant and focused on being a dancer that I kind of let, my gay self just be kind of like the back burner where it's like, yeah, I'm a gay man, but I'm a dancer. Now it's like I am a gay man and a dancer. Like I want to be able to celebrate both sides of myself.
Yeah, and you've gone against the grain in general. So as you're saying that, I was like, yeah, but also these are people who are like, you're not supposed to be in this space because you're fat. It's like you showed them by kind of leaning into it and inspiring people. So it's like you're at this point again where it's like, well, maybe I can be super gay and inspire more people, or like be in more gay spaces. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting on my list of questions. It was that it ties into this. It was, Erik Cavanaugh, the dancer. And I was wondering, are there other aspects of you that you want or you'd like to share with our community, let them know who you are, as a whole, versus just the part of you?
Yeah, I want to show, I guess, like my personality a little bit more and like who I am. Because if you look at my social media, it's just dance videos and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes photos, but you don't really hear my voice. You don't see the person behind the dancing because that was also a very um pointed point. Like it was a very focal thing for me to like just be dance. Don't show my personality. Don't show who I am. Don't show the personal life. And now I'm like, people don't know how to approach me. People don't know how I'm going to be. I'm told like people have like a different expectation of my personality based off of like the videos are saying, because like sometimes like it's very sassy heel. So people think I'm going to like cut you if you like talk to me, or I'm going to be a very much like a diva, and like that's not my actual personality. So I want to start opening myself up to human interaction.
I think this is a great way to this conversation the three of us are having. It's a great way because it's very much, I've learned so much about you and have gotten to know a little bit more about your heart and your personality versus just this gorgeous dancer, this artist. And it's so important that we put these realities out there to the average folk in our community that listens, our audience will get to know you as Erik the person
Mm-hmm.
versus just Erik the dancer. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's so funny. As you were saying, like people don't know how to respond to you based on your videos. I was the same way because I've only watched your videos of dancing, so I was like, I'm just gonna message Eric and see if he wants to be on the podcast. But like, I had no idea what your personality was like or anything. Um, and if anything, to me, it was more like intimidating because you have such a big audience and you're such a good dancer, and so I was just like, maybe this person, I don't know, is out of my reach or something. So I was really happy that you decided to be on the podcast. Speaking of reach and like your dance skills, and this goes against what John was just saying about moving away from dance, but like your flexibility. Like in general, I was watching like one of your stretch videos, I think from like stretching videos from during COVID. And I'm gonna share it with the group because we're always looking for like, you know, examples of bigger bodies doing yoga and dance and movement. But yeah, how does one become that flexible? Speaking for someone with really, really tight hips.
So I had a little bit of a cheat code because I was born naturally flexible. So I had a good amount of it in me. And then when I was like training as a dancer, I was so inspired by rhythmic gymnastics. and their hypermobility and flexibility. So then that was like my goal. I was like, okay, well, if their splits are, like this, I have to have my splits like that. So then I kept pushing myself and pushing myself and pushing myself to get further along. And maybe it's not the best thing to do, but I was also in my teens, so the body wasn't as, damageable. Um, but to maintain it, I don't have that same hypermobility that I once had, where like I still have like an oversplit, but it's not like as crazy as it once was, where I could just, plop into it like it was nothing, um, because it's not needed. But I do still stretch several times a week, at least daily. I try to do like give a little bit of a stretch. Um, and it's just the consistency of stretching, and it's this right way of stretching. There's so many different ways. There's like static, and there's active, and there's ballistic or ballistic. I'm not entirely sure how it is, but there's so many different ways of stretching, and like the best way is like active stretching. So when you're stretching, you're not like sitting in something. It's like, okay, I'm in a runner stretch, now I'm moving out of into something, now I'm back in the runner stretch. So your muscles are activated as they're being stretched, so that they learn how to adapt to the flexibility and mobility. Where sometimes people think like stretching is just like, I plop into a split and now I sit here for a minute. That doesn't do anything except for make you weaker.
Interesting. Okay, it's good to hear, because I like to do active stretching.
It's the right way. And then you never bounce in a stretch either, because then that weakens the ligaments, because it's like you're almost like tearing it, and then it doesn't do anything, versus active that's like releasing it down.
All right, I'm gonna have to rewatch that stretching video and share it with our group.
Yeah.
So
And no bouncing, Sean. No bouncing.
One thing I can kind of do is twerk, but my hips are so tight that it's like I can only do it for like a few seconds, and I'm like, oh. But well, listen, we very much appreciate your time. Before we go into some of our like wind down questions, was there anything that like you're hoping to share with our audience, or anything that we gloss over too fast that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so.
Cool.
I have just a quick little salacious question, if you don't mind. I like to know, and again, you don't have to answer this, but at 23, with such fame, as a gay man, did that impact your dating life in a positive way or a negative way?
Um, so for quite a while, I did not celebrate myself in a sexual way. Um, I've never been a dater. I've not really been, it hasn't been on the forefront, because I was so career focused that I was like, I don't want anybody to take my mind off of where I want to be in life, so that if I do decide to pack my bag and go to LA, no one can be like, but wait, what about the children? Um, so it's I didn't start exploring my sexuality too in depth until like just a couple years ago. Having moments throughout, my adulthood, um, but it was never like a focus until. So I'm 31 now, so I'd say probably like 28 or 27 is really whenever I started diving deep into it. LA definitely helped open it even more, the idea of like sexual positivity, or sex positivity. I don't know, sexual, sex positivity, because there was shame. Like I grew up like ashamed about being gay for a while. um there are moments though, now that I am exploring it more, that I do run into the difficulty sometimes when people recognize me on the apps, or they like, are you from TikTok? Are you that dancer guy? Or, oh my God, I love your videos. I'm like, oh, gee, thanks. And they're like, great. Do you want to come over, or do you host? And I'm like, no, neither. And I've been listening to the podcast Fat Slut with Meatball and Big Dipper, and they've talked about it recently, about like being famous in the gay world, and like, do they sleep with like their fans, or like how do they accept people that appreciate it? And both of them are saying like they're working on like accepting that, and I'm doing the same, where it's like I will entertain the idea of like maybe, because I also say like on dates that I have gone on, I don't tell them what I do. I lie. Like I'm just like, oh, I just teach dance, or I don't, unless they directly ask me like what I do, I just don't talk about it. But it always comes up, and I've always kind of tried to date outside of the industry, and those people are outside of the industry for a reason. They don't always want the industry. Um, so I don't tell people, but I do get found out in different ways. Like one guy, we were going on a date, I didn't tell him what I did. And he was like, well, let's go to a movie for our first date. And I was like, okay, cool. He wanted to see the Talk to Me, the scary movie with like the creepy hand by A24. At this time, Dick's the Musical was running their trailer.
Oh.
So we're sitting there, and then A24's Dick's the Musical starts playing its trailer. And I just was like, so I'm actually a professional dancer and I'm in this movie. And he was like, what? And then there's a moment where like I turn my head and it's just, you can see me dead on. And he was like, what the fuck? And I was like, so I'm a dancer. And so it was like cool in the moment, but then I can also tell whenever things start to kind of like feel awkward for people, because it's like, okay, you're a professional dancer, and then it's like, oh, then you see the social media, and it's like, oh, you have a big profile. Like I went on a date with a guy, again, didn't tell him I did anything. I told him I was a dancer, and then we exchanged Snapchats, and it has my full name. So then he Googled me, and he was like, I did not know that I went on a date with the mini celebrity. And I was like, oh. And so then when we got coffee, I was like, are you okay with this? Like, and he was like, oh, it should be fine. And then it's not always fine. They think it's fine until it's just like, it's a public persona, and these people are working, just their career paths they've gone on, which is in the normal human sector of life. And they like that life for them. It's enjoyable to them. They enjoy their small private lives. And it's like, and then you have someone that's like in a billboard on this major film, is doing music videos, is getting millions of views on social media. It's a complete flop from where they are. So I've also learned like I have to lead with it. Someone like was like, what are some of your red flags on one of the dating apps? And I said, I am somewhat famous and I have a lot of social media following. I'm not saying this to brag, but I'm saying this to let you know, like, this is what you're gonna get with me. Because then it's also, they don't see on the apps or in person the heel side. They don't see me in heels or putting on makeup or the femininity. And that also scares, unfortunately, some men. So yeah, that's where I think fame has been an interesting relation to dating and sex life, because people don't always want that, especially because I was trying to pursue only 9 to 5 workers. That I've learned that it might not be for me. Hopefully it is, but I don't know.
Well, when we went from talking about being flexible and stretching, and Johnny Bear said, I'm going to ask a salacious question, I thought it would be more salacious.
I thought so too.
No, but I appreciate you sharing all of that. That is, I mean, it's hard enough to date and navigate like the queer world and dating and sex and stuff, and then you add in a layer of like notoriety, to the level that you have, and yeah, that gets tricky. But we're sending you lots of luck.
Yeah.
You'll find the right accountant.
That's for sure.
Hello again. Here is the second part of what Dakota had to share. If you'd like to learn more about Camp Bear Hug, go to coachcub.com/retreats. You can also find the link in the show notes. And to stay in touch with folks who come to retreats and just a supportive community in general, I also recommend joining our free private Facebook community called the Belly Club, which you can find at facebook.com/groups/the Belly Club. Here is Dakota.
I left a better person there. I left a more confident person. I was so worried about fitting in that I actually, these were my people. And I learned so much about the people there too, and the culture and the language.
So part of our standard, we have standard questions that we like to put out to every guest that comes on, and they're pretty cute little questions that we ask everybody. And one of them is, and obviously this is a little funny because of the billboard that you already have, but we like to put it out there that if you had all, don't have to worry about money, don't have to worry about length or size, what, and you had this opportunity to have a billboard put all over the world, what message would you put out there for the world to see? What message would you want to tell the world?
Dancers come in all sizes.
Love it. And
Love
right, and like right above like the move that you're doing in the Apple billboard. That's fantastic. It's yeah. I can't say enough about how much I love that you're breaking down these barriers, because it's the same. It's like, blank comes in all different sizes. It's like it could be a dancer, it could be athlete, it could be a model, it could be just. It's like we need to break down these limiting stereotypes of body type. So you're doing it in such an amazing way. The other question I'd like to ask, because this is called the Belly Talk, our group is called the Belly Club. So when you hear the word belly, or you kind of read it or whatever, what kind of comes up in your mind, or what emotions percolate? What comes up?
For me, I guess the initial thought, and this is where it goes back to like the other voice telling me to not be, but it's shame.
Yeah.
The shame of like, oh, you have a belly. When in reality, everyone has a belly, just some are flat, some are not. But yeah, I would say initially like shame, and then with the voice, it's combating it and saying like, why are you ashamed? Like, you have one life, don't live in shame.
It's a beautiful and very common. A lot of us struggle with that, and the comment that a lot of our interviewees come back with are varied, but we have heard that before. So you're definitely not alone in that. Another
Yeah, and I
question.
also, sorry, just to jump in, like my reaction too is like, it's good for everyone to hear that from you, because I think, again, we can be put in categories. So if you're in like the body positivity movement, or you're like a role model for bigger bodies, it's like you're almost put at this pedestal where like you can't show that you're also shameful, and like show that we're multifaceted and that there's many things that come up. So I just appreciate that you're said that and that you're being honest. And I think it allows us all to kind of talk about all the different sides of the different voices in our heads, and not feel like we're not allowed to open up that way. So thanks.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good for our community to hear that truth. And the word community is so important to us, because we feel like we not only are we asking questions or we're having this conversation, but we are trying to be the voices of our community. And the other question is, what does community mean to you?
Community is security. It's family. It's people that I guess you would hope will uplift you or find relation to your life, so that you can help each other navigate a little bit better. That's, I think, the idea of what a community should be is it's just like your extended family. It's your chosen family. It's your home. It's your people.
I love that. Final question that we don't ask everybody because this is specific to you, but you're saying you're going to your brother's wedding. Was this the same brother who used to also be in dance and performance?
No, I have three older brothers. This one was not in it.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, well, will you and the other brother dance at the wedding? Is that like an expectation for you?
My family does have that expectation a lot of times when I go to weddings, especially for like the social dances, like the Cupid Shuffle and all of that, because not all of them know it. So they just expect me to know it, which I do, although right now I don't remember most of them, because it's been a while. But I tend to not dance at weddings because I'm clocked out. So I
Yeah,
just, like chill. Like I'm a very introverted person. Like I'm not the life of the party. I'm not someone that loves to like go crazy. I like to chill, be on the side, and just do whatever. Um, I excel at smaller, intimate settings than larger.
yeah, same here. Well, thank you again for coming on and sharing so much of yourself with us and with our audience. I'm sure a lot of our audience already follows you and is up to date with what you're doing, but where can people who are new to you like follow you or learn more about what you're doing or take a class with you even?
On Instagram or TikTok, it's my name, Erik, and then Cavanaugh, Cavanaugh. On Instagram, one word. On TikTok, it's Erik_Cavanaugh.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And it's been, a real pleasure like getting to know you and learning more about you. And, we can go on and butter you up more, but it's all true. And it's just fantastic what you're doing. And that you're also navigating so much while you do it, which has got to be really difficult. So sending a lot of good energy to you. And I can't wait to, you know, continue the conversation, see what you continue doing. And I would love to take a dance class with you sometime. So that's be my goal.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's good. And good luck with whatever you're doing. And hope you have a great wedding and everybody's happy and joyful on that day. And if you're in New York, we'll come find us.
Will do.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Alrighty.
All right, Erik. Take
Take
care for
good
now.
care.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.